All right, good evening, everyone. Let's get ready to call this meeting to order. I got 6:30, so if we would, we'll start with the roll call, please.
James Holly,
Present.
Ben Meeks,
Present.
Alan Casper,
Present.
Ward Rowland,
Here.
Tim Cassell,
Here.
Brian Shields,
Here.
Coleman Mayhew,
Here.
Kermit King,
Here.
Steve Stallings,
Here.
John Brown,
Here.
Bert Sellers,
Here.
Dean Fowler,
Here.
Vic Engel.
Present.
All right, thank y'all. All right, we're going to have a moment of silence, please. All right, if you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank y'all. All right, we're going to go down to any additions or revisions to the agenda tonight. Anybody got anything they would like to add to our agenda? I would like to add under 13 new business, this will be item D, discussion on solar farm fires, and item E, under new business, a discussion on mutual aid agreements. To the agenda, please.
G, solar farm and mutual aid.
Any other additions before we vote on the change to the agenda? All right, not hearing any, I'll entertain a motion to accept the changes to the agenda.
So moved.
All right, motion by Alan Casper,
Second.
second by Kermit King. Motion on the floor, any discussion? All right, if not, roll call vote, please.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland,
Yes.
Tim Cassell,
Yes.
Brian Shields,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
Thank you. That was the additions, Chris. Do we need to vote on the agenda, or was that covers right there? Should be good.
You voted on the changes, so now you
Okay,
gotta
that's
vote
what I
on the
thought.
agenda, yeah.
Okay, all right. So we'll take a motion now, guys, to accept the agenda we have and have to actually vote on the agenda.
So move.
All right, J.D. Brown made the motion.
Second.
Got a second on the floor. Any discussion? If not, roll call vote.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland,
Yes.
Tim Cassell,
Yes.
Brian Shields,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, now we're going to be at minutes approval, so please take just a few moments and review your minutes. All right, as If everybody's had time to look over the minutes, I'll entertain a motion to accept those.
So moved.
Motion on the floor by Kermit King. Second. Is that you, Bert? Bert Sellis, second. All right, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland,
Yes.
Tim Cassell,
Yes.
Brian Shields,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes. All right, thank y'all. All right, gentlemen, we're down to presentations. Director Key, do we have any tonight?
Presentation this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're down to hearing of the citizens. We have anybody sign up?
No, sir.
No, sir? All right, thank you. Moving right along. Down to Fire and Rescue Association reports. Chief Fowler.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple items. We have put into effect the ladder responses to let you all know anything high occupancy, anything nursing homes, major industry, schools, that stuff will automatically be getting a ladder to respond on the initial response. And Fire and Rescue has discussed it at the association level. All the chiefs know about it, and they understand the program to be able to use it or cancel it if they need to at the initial response. The other thing that we're working on, the Communications Committee has come back and made some recommendations. The association approved those. We'll be working on them to get them put into format and bring them back to the commission so that you all can review them, so we can put them in place and adopt them. And the third thing that I have is we've appointed a committee that is working on the tanker task force. That's something that came up in 2015 with the fire rescue study, recommending sending tankers non-emergency on the initial call if it deems to be a fire, and not letting them start non-emergency until they get an upgrade to either keep responding or disregard, just to get some water en route so that there's less chance of running out in the middle of a fire operation. And that's all I have right now.
Thank you, sir. Just a couple comments on that. I appreciate the association putting that together. The ladder auto dispatch is so important. They're special pieces of equipment. We only have 4, if I'm correct, ladders in this county. It's the largest county in Virginia. So, we don't have a lot of high rises, but we have buildings that can be, that you need that special equipment. So that's great that we're heading that direction. And then the tanker task force, that's something that we've needed for a long time. So thank y'all for working on that. All right, we're down to county staff reports. Director Key.
Yes, sir. This past week on June the 22nd, we had a rep from the VFIS Insurance come in, Paul Mauger, and he conducted like a risk control survey. We visited 5 stations throughout the county. We visited Brownsville, Mount Herman, Ringgold, Gretna, and Riceville, Java. He basically went in and just surveyed the station, surveyed things, checked our paperwork to make sure that we were sort of in compliance, and is basically going to bring back recommendations of ways we could improve to try to save on our insurance. So that's something we'll have. Hopefully he'll be able to come in and make a presentation in the next few weeks, maybe at the next commission meeting. Reminder to all the county fire departments, the Virginia Department of Fire Programs aid to locality funding. The paperwork was sent out and needs to be sent back in on how you spent your funding for the year. If you decide to carry it over to use it on apparatus, that's fine. We just need to know so to make sure we carry it over. Also, all the county departments have turned in their 4 for Life funding. That will be coming out again. It should be about August when that money rolls around again, and that'll be for all rescue EMS purchases. All the funding for ARPA, all proposals have been turned in. All the proposals have been approved. So anybody that needs to finish that up, make sure you turn in invoices, not the quotes or bids, so that way we can get the money back out to them. That was $43,000 per agency, so that's a nice big pile of money for each agency. That's all I have at this time, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. I just want to say thank you to the agencies. We were one of them that got the I'm not going to call it an audit, but a walkthrough of the insurance, and I think it went well.
Yes.
We learned a little bit, and early feedback sounds like they were pretty happy with what they seen. So we appreciate the volunteers taking care of their equipment and stuff, and allowing these people into the stations. All right, We're going to be under unfinished business now. Is there any unfinished business before we move to new business? One item I wanted to bring up, we can put this under unfinished business, is the Fire and Rescue Memorial. That ad hoc committee continues to meet. I just want you guys to know that. We have a picture or a drawing, a picture I should say, of sort of what we think we want. And we've got I think a good location picked out. The county already owns it, so we just have to get permission from the board to utilize that space. Now we're working on the funding criteria step, and still developing some of the criteria of like, what's going to be on the memorial and whatnot. So hope to the next month or so to have some actual concrete numbers on finances, what we're looking at, what we're going to need financially to raise, and to be able to bring back a picture to you guys and show y'all our progress and give you a good report. But I just want y'all to know we have been meeting and we're working on that. Any other unfinished business? If not, we will move down to new business. Item A is going to be Board of Supervisors Communications. Chairman Vic Ingram.
All right, Mr. Chairman, good to see you guys tonight. I've been a little bit under the weather, so bear with me. At our last meeting, which was a week ago today, we approved the remaining ARPA applications, which was a good thing, and the Fire and Rescue Service Agreement, that passed 6-1. We got that taken care of. And we will hold a public hearing in July in regards to some EMS billing. And most of the stuff you guys are familiar with, the shortages that we have talked about. This came up during our finance work session as well as our regular work session. And what we asked, and these were not up for a vote, they were up for discussion. And what we decided is to ask Kim Vanderhyde, our finance director, to go and look and see if there's leftover money, where it's at, and if it's some we can use. If not, find the money somewhere or another. So Chris, as in Slim, so if I miss anything, you please help me here. But I know there was an additional $24,000 that was needed for the matrix to work, and so we've already got that taken care of. We've got the money allotted for that. And of course, with the new needs as far as fuel and et cetera, we're going to have to address that one way or the other. And having said that, Chris, have I missed anything? Right. Exactly. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, the leftover $24,000 would go to all departments to get $750, and if you ran both services, being fire and rescue, you'd get $1,500, and so that would take care of that, and that would hopefully buy you some gas. And have I missed anything else on that? Okay. And speaking of the memorial, thank you guys for the work that you're doing on that. And as I said, I think it was the last meeting, there is a fund established at American National Bank. Anybody wants to donate, anybody wants to look at the account, all you got to do is make it known. You go look. It's nothing secret about it. I was forced into saying it then. I might as well go ahead and repeat it. But as far as the stipend that would come to me, that is directly sent to American National. And so at the end of the process, when you need money to start groundbreaking or whatever, we'll withdraw that money and take care of it then. But if anybody wants to donate, all you have to do is see me about it. And if you want to have your stipend sent in like mine, see me about it. We can work that out. Okay? That's it. Thank you,
sir.
Thank you, sir.
If I could just add, I think it's good that we're having Kim run the numbers. You guys are. It's y'all's job ultimately to make the decisions. And I know it's tough decisions on the money and whatnot and how it's proportioned out. I just ask that we really try to do our due diligence. These departments are really struggling with fuel cost and everything else right now. I know there was kind of some scare about dipping into the contingency money already and what may happen with these drug box changes. All that stuff's down the road. And unless somebody can prove to me something different, I haven't seen anything that's going to show that's going to change overnight. So, we got to worry about the problem we have right now, which is keeping fuel in the trucks and keeping the trucks running. So I just would ask the board to really concentrate on that if they can. But I know you guys have a tough job to do, so I appreciate that.
Well, we sort of touched on the contingency funds, and that's, for the lack of a better way of saying it, rainy day money. And every year we get hit by different departments and specific needs, and some of them are very legitimate. But I can tell you, bar none, that what you just said personally is a game changer. Department says, hey, I need somebody else to help do this. I know that's important. But to me, what you're talking about, what you guys do is paramount, and that's at the top of my list. And I can only speak for myself, but on the other hand, I have colleagues on the board that really feel the same way I do. So one way or the other, we're going to take care of y'all. It's no doubt in my mind. It might be a little bit of a battle. We might hurt somebody's feelings and let somebody down, but this has to come first because of what you guys do for the citizens of this county. So I just want to let you know you got my total support.
Well, we appreciate that, and I appreciate this body for sending through the motion to those guys to set the groundwork for that, the footwork for that. So
I've got a question on that matter, and it's I hope this doesn't open up a can of worms, and I'm sure Chris can answer it. The fire departments are here depending on contingency money to run our fire trucks, to get gas to run them up and down the road. What does public safety do? They've got to have the same problem we've got. When they run out of money, where do they go for extra money for gas? Do they look to the contingency fund, or what do they do?
No. It comes out of other line items.
Do
We have to set-
y'all have any problem getting funded for y'all's trucks?
Well, I was $18,000 short at last week. So, I mean, it comes out of uniforms, it comes out of medical supplies.
Yeah, I'm just asking. I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
I have to balance a budget, so we had to cut back on other things to sacrifice for fuel.
Are you saying these fire departments are not managing their budget right, that's low on money?
No, sir.
Thank you, that's all I've got.
I think it's just with today's times, we just have to be, I understand where Chris is coming from with the budget. We have a budget at Grutland. I'm sure all these volunteer agencies have a budget, but they were destroyed by fuel cost and equipment cost and everything else. And so that's why, I know sometimes it seems like your board says, well, daggone, these guys just keep coming back and back and back and asking. But because we keep answering and answering and answering the calls, and it keeps going up and up and up. I mean, Chris Key can tell you that. Chris Slimp can tell you that. All these guys that's done it, everybody in here that's been on the fire and rescue, past or present, can tell you the calls go up every year, and the cost continues to go up with it. When the money doesn't go up with it, then that's where the gap happens. So, that's why it's so important. And we know you can't, if we had unlimited money, all problems would be solved, right? But we don't. So just keep that in mind. We're going to move on to item B. It's going to be return to active volunteer policy. Director Key.
All right, during discussion and review of the 23 Fire Rescue Agreement, the Board of Supervisors requested the Fire Rescue Commission adopt a standard regarding the medical clearance for volunteers who had experienced a serious medical condition. At the May Fire Rescue Commission, the policy was reviewed. After discussion regarding the policy, the item was tabled. More information was requested. We have Mark Bowery here tonight if there's any questions, but I got along with Fire and Rescue Association, and we changed a couple wording in it. And if you would look at the SOP, it's included in your agenda packet. The last sentence on it was changed, and it says, in such cases, when known by the chief of the agency, he or she shall require that the member be medically cleared by a medical doctor prior to being allowed to return to active duty and responding to emergency calls. So adding that, when known by the chief of the agency, that was the only change that we was able to come up with from Fire and Rescue that met with their agreements.
Chris, I've got a question on that. When you put on a new volunteer fireman, is he going to be required to take a physical to prove that he has not got any pre-existing conditions, or has that been addressed?
That's up to each individual agency.
Okay.
Also, Director Key, or maybe Mr. Slimp. Now, in this, or is it going to be any levels that you can return to service at, or is it just one level for us firefighter? I mean, I may not be able to fight fire, but but I got all the training, I'm the best incident commander you ever had, or I'm the best truck driver you ever had.
Well, that may be where we need to have job descriptions in.
Okay, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is
Yeah.
it any levels, it's just not returning or returning?
Each agency, we don't have a standard across the board that says what a firefighter's job description is. So, maybe that's something we need to address. They could be cleared to come back and be a driver, but maybe not be able to be a firefighter.
Yeah.
But
I
that's
mean-
something we would need to address and have each agency agree to, so.
And look at it, is it something that, look at me, it should be uniform. If Callens does it, Gretna does it, Blair's does it. And I'm sorry, I use y'all as examples because you're right here at me, But, that way everybody, the same, if I go to one doctor and Bert goes to another doctor, he sees the same criteria list as what I got to return back to. But the reason why I'm asking is because if you say return or not return, you're going to deplete a lot of your resources right quick. Because, some of us may not be able to return back on an active firefighter. But like you said, we're the best truck drivers and pump operators and incident commanders that you got. And I know all of us think of a firefighter as going in the structure, but it takes a spoke to make a wheel turn.
Oh, yeah.
And each one, in our system, the system that we got, it takes everybody's piece in that spoke to make it work. And that was just my concern. And then, on the medical side, the physical side, you can see. Go ahead.
Can we get Mr. Bowery? He may be able to address some of this with
It
us.
may
Hold on,
be,
sir.
but I don't mean to cut you off. I get
Yeah.
talking.
Oh, no, I agree. He's going to be a whole lot more.
If you would, just come right here.
Yeah, he'll be a whole lot more knowledgeable
Speak
on
into
it.
the mic,
Okay.
please.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you, Mr. Chairman. You can't write a policy for everything. I think what Mr. Keys is trying to do is give you something, and Dean and I talked about it too, to work with to keep the fire chiefs out of trouble, okay? Give them some baseline. Now, you can't write a policy for every injury that's out there, so the fire chiefs are going to, or whoever they designate that to, is going to have to use common sense and what they place them in. If it's an administrative position, as you're talking about incident commander, maybe they're, doing something with water supply, but we don't want the situation, I don't think the chiefs want to be in a position to where they just openly put somebody back in, it's got a major injury, and all of a sudden they're on the line for it because that person shouldn't have been in that position. Am I bouncing around too much for you, or is that making sense?
Well, I don't disagree with the policy. I just want some kind of parameters with it that will make it work for us.
But I think the way that's written, it's going to give you, the chiefs, the opportunity to, some leeway there to make those decisions. If you try to override it and be too strict with it, then you're going to hurt yourself in what you're talking about. But this gives you a way, if somebody, and I was telling Chris about the job descriptions are a huge part of this whole procedure that you need to follow through. One of my larger counties had an incident where they didn't have some job descriptions or any really, and a person who was legally blind that didn't have a driver's license in the state of Virginia or anything come up and they wanted to drive a pumper. How are you going to tell them they can't if you don't have a job description? So then you get into civil rights type violations and things with that. So you need something, you need job descriptions, and I think you have a very good document. Dean and I talked about it a little bit. I think you got a good document. It's going to give you fire chiefs the opportunity to handle those situations appropriately. If you know that person doesn't need to be on that fire scene, an SCBA, then you have the way to do it.
So are you saying, just so I understand, are you saying the job descriptions should be in this document, or they should be for each agency individually?
Each agency individually.
Okay.
I think it would be very hard to do to write one that would fit every one of them as a whole. But you really need them. And I
Yep.
think Paul Mauger touched on that when you get this. And make sure, and I appreciate you saying that it's not an audit. It's not an audit of your agency. It's a service that we provide as part of the insurance to come in and look and give you ideas of things that you may not be seeing. And it will come out as recommendations. And that way you can address them, say, yes, we can do this time, or no, we can't. But,
Well, what happens when if you let each individual agency write their job descriptions? Let's say, I leave Callens because they won't let me fight fire over here, but I go see Chief Neal at Ringgold and his job description is different. And he says, I'm fine.
well, they shouldn't be that much different from a structural firefighter to what have you. And VFIS.com that we provide, we have a lot of examples to go by, and I think you've recovered some of those and have some of your own. So I can't imagine, structural firefighter, firefighter 1, 2 to paramedic, those job descriptions shouldn't be that varying. If somebody would leave one agency to go to another, I can't imagine that. I've not run into that.
Well, I mean, if they don't have job descriptions, I mean, you said they could write their own.
Yeah.
So
Well,
if they
we're-
write it leniently, or it varies from doctor to doctor.
Well, surely they're going to follow NFPA and different fire program standards of what a structural firefighter or EMT or a paramedic's job description is going to be. It shouldn't be, we don't want to say that one's going to fit all, but it shouldn't be that different. I can't imagine it would be.
But
Would you agree with
if
that
we're
statement,
going,
Chris?
yeah, but if we're going to say every firefighter has to be firefighter 1 or firefighter 2, and once they leave that point and head to the station, why can't we say every firefighter for is fit for duty should meet this?
If you want to write them one.
I mean, I'm just asking because, it's going, if you let each individual chief, I don't want to get too technical with it, but if you let each individual chief write it or department, it's going to vary.
Well, that's probably something that goes back to the association. If they want one size, that's be up to the association.
Yeah, Chief Fowler had his hand up. Chief, if you want to speak.
Mr. Chairman, what I was going to say, if the body will entertain it, we could go back to the association level, take each fire chiefs, put together a committee, and put together a boilerplate that's got the key items that we need to address. And then if one of these departments do something different from everybody else, they can massage it a little bit and get it in place. And hopefully, by doing that, maybe we could have one that each agency submitted as part of their service agreement for the next coming year. If we give them a parameter from the association that's voted on by the membership, go back and take that and make sure you include those items. And then if it's something that they look at and say, hey, I don't think we can do this, or we need to change it because we got a different setup in this area, let them put it in there like they want to and submit it at the next time of the service agreement.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it as long as, they got something that they
Because,
can.
at the end of the
gauge it.
day, first responders and the transport agencies are going to be a little bit different in what they're doing, and
That's
and
right.
some we have an aerial, some don't. Some's got hazmat equipment that they're responding to hazmat responses, and they probably need to have something in it. But if we put together a framework for them, they should be able to put one together and be able to submit it.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I say, because you got mental conditions right here. I mean, that's a broad category. Who makes that determination? Because right now, he's looking at me like I'm probably the mental case right now.
No.
But,
I see what you're saying. There needs to be some continuity.
I
Because,
think
mean,
at the end of the day, I think the association can put that together pretty
And
easily.
I agree. And
I can live
Mr.
with
Chairman, I just wanted to add one thing. Why we're saying this overall is the fire chiefs, when something does go wrong, that's where it's going to, there in the board directors where the buck's going to stop. Yeah, I'm in there defending, but you're going to have to answer. And most of the fire chiefs haven't been through some of this, and the depositions, some of these cases go on for 2, 3, 4 years. It's a real strain. So all I'm trying to do is give you some upfront help to avoid that. And you have a great association, and I think they can rise to that challenge.
We do.
And we will help them. We'll provide whatever resources they ask for.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, one other thing, Mr. Sellers asked about when they come in, the physical, and I don't know what all the agencies, we actually have a question there that asked him if they have any physical disabilities that would keep them from performing the job, and they fill it out. Short of that, with HIPAA laws and stuff, I'm not really sure what we could require, and I can tell you now, we can't afford to start paying for physicals for each one of them that come in. The money's not there for
Our
us.
application has the same thing. And you may be able to, does that sort
Yes,
of,
whatever level of physical you take it to. But I will say, and I'll give Chris one of the of them. We have a basic physical form that you can use that you don't have to go to a doctor to do. A paramedic or somebody, a PA or somebody in your community can do that and give you a baseline, and that will fit 1,500. It will satisfy 1,500. But you're right. If you go out here and start doing chest X-rays and all the stuff that goes along with it, you're looking at, $2,000 or $3,000 a person, and I don't know who can afford that.
Well,
Big cities can, but we can't.
Mr. Chairman, but my only concern is I didn't want to cripple these departments by saying you do or you don't, because, like I said, the system that we work in is kind of complex because it's not cut and dry. We got, we got people that drive, we got people that pump trucks, and we got people that's in command. Plus, our interior firefighters. And without one of them other spokes, this over here doesn't happen.
Right.
And I didn't want it that cut and dry to where I said, well, he's, even though he's got the training to be a good incident commander, he don't meet the physical of an interior firefighter, so he's out of the department. I didn't want that to happen.
I don't think that's where we were driving it, but I would say that you don't want to be in the position to where, that's why the job descriptions, and you can send that with that person to that doctor, can they meet this? But it doesn't, every job description is not going to say every firefighter has to be an interior firefighter,
But this document right here don't differentiate between any of it.
Well,
it's kind of open. It's just kind of open.
Right.
And I know
Needs
it's
to follow
a lot of leadway. I agree. It's a lot of leadway in it, and you don't want to tie the hands of your department chief also. I agree with that.
But it's a good, I think
Yeah.
it's the right direction to start.
Yeah. So Chief Fowler, the association unanimously approved this, correct, to send it to us as it reads now?
The return to
The
active
return?
duty, yes.
Okay. So would it be appropriate to send the document back and to look at all of those parameters or job descriptions and then represent it? Or do we want to keep that completely separate and just bring this up for a vote tonight?
I would think the policy to request a return to active duty is complete.
Okay.
Where we need to go now is do the job descriptions, and when that individual, be it you, goes out for a broken leg, we take the document that applies to his position in the department after we write the description and say, I'm gonna need this form completed by your doctor. You're an active duty firefighter, interior firefighter, and he's gonna need to look at this job description and sign off that you're cleared to do so.
But wouldn't he look at all of them? Could you, put him on the pick, because he may not meet an interior firefighter, but he may be a truck.
Well,
I'm just, trying to figure out.
and maybe we need to put them all together.
Yeah, I
but-
said put them all together.
And that way, when he goes, he can say, this is the one I want you to approve me for. And if he says you're not gonna fight fire again, he can go back to the support staff.
That's right. He can say, well, you meet this and this and this, but you don't meet this.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
based on the discussion I've heard, I think, and this is a draft, that it probably needs to be tabled and looked at further before we even consider it.
Okay. Chairman Ingram, I know this was part of the board really was a driving force to get this started, and that's fine. I think it's something we all see that we needed to discuss. Would that be appropriate if we continue this another month, or is there going to be some concerns from the board either?
Yes, sir, absolutely. As far as I'm concerned, you take as much time as you need to get it right.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
If you'd like to put that in a motion, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm making a motion
Thank you,
to,
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
table it.
Second it.
All right. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? And I'll just say, while we're in the discussion period, I think there needs to be some continuity to, we don't want to handicap any of our agencies, and I think that's where Mr. King was going with, in the direction of what he was saying. But we don't want to handicap any of our agencies. But we need the association, and I really encourage all departments to participate and go to those meetings. because this is this stuff I keep saying every month we need everybody's input on, because it's going to affect every department. So, all right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Well, like I said, I agree with Chairman Meeks that we need the document, but I just think it needs a little bit of clarification on, you know, how it fits into our system.
All right, roll call vote, please.
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland,
Yes.
Tim Cassell,
Yes.
Brian Shields,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Steve Stallings,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That will be tabled, and association, y'all bring back your report, and we'll bring it up next month. Thank you. All right, we're down to item C under new business. It's going to be drug box discussions about the Schedule 6 drugs. Director Key.
Okay, yeah, we're not in compliance with Schedule C drugs at this time, so we've come up to an agreement to be able to get everybody under the same agreement to get us all under the same DEA registration number. Basically, we've got to submit the paperwork, submit the funding, but I have to do addendums to it with each agency's status, whether they will be needing to be inspected or whether they're going to carry their Schedule 6 drugs on their apparatus. So that's basically where we're standing at right now. With Gretna coming under the same OMD, all agencies can participate and be under one Schedule 6 licensing.
And we haven't spoke to Dr. Long yet, but that's our plans.
Okay.
I don't know if y'all spoke to her, but that's our plans. But you can have dual OMDs, just
Yeah.
so every agency knows.
We can only have one on the application is
Right.
the issue, so.
So, and it's not anything to do with this, or it's in the same ball field, but it's not anything to do with this document. But, you know, so we're going this direction. We're getting the license through the county. Each agency is going to be basically piggybacking off that license. So does that mean in the future, if we ever do this drug box deal goes down, which they keep saying is going to happen, and it is one day, but, you know, I've heard 6 months, I've heard 3 years, I've heard 10 years. I don't know. But if that happens, you know, is it the direction that we're taking now, whereby saying we're going under the county's license, all the agencies are piggybacking off of it, that we're going to be able to put in some sort of exchange program or something to keep these ambulances going? Because I guess where I'm going at this with, I heard some comments made in the last meeting, in one of the finance meetings for the board of supervisors, that we may have to just drop down all of our ALS agencies at the volunteer level and just put paid staff on to run ALS. And I do not think that is the direction that we should be headed. And it's a disservice to our community to even go that direction. You know, if that time comes, there may be some agencies, I don't know. Maybe my question's not making sense, but I just didn't like what I heard with, you know, was comments made, well, we may just drop down. That's 11 rescue squads that would lose their ALS status. I don't think anybody can afford, we can barely keep ALS in our agencies and on the public safety staff. I mean, we know how hard it is to get help. So I just think we need to make sure that this is great, and I'm glad that y'all put in the work and made this work, and we're all going to be able to come under the same license, and I hope that continues if something happens to the drug boxes, because that's going to be a whole lot of stuff new to all of us. But it's like I told Clarence Monday the other day, there's 49 other states that does it differently than this state. We're the last state that has the drug boxes with the narcotics and stuff. You can't tell me there's not one other state or one other locality that's similar to this one, similar makeup, that can help us. And that's just my opinion. So, like I said, I don't know if you can answer my question on that, if that was the direction, or if it didn't make sense, that's fine.
No, it makes perfect sense, but what I'm trying to do since last September, that was when it was adopted. November was when it was enforced.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get us all in compliance with Schedule 6 drugs licensing at this time. Nothing has changed on the drug box, and don't know how far down the road it may be.
Okay.
At that time, we'll address it in whichever way everybody chooses.
Okay.
You know, right now, the cheapest and easiest way is to everybody come under one license.
Right.
you know, when it comes to the drug box exchange, each agency may want to do their own. The paperwork's not a big issue, really. The big thing is buying the drugs in the drug boxes and having to supply them ourselves, whether it be Gretna, whether it be public safety. That's the ifs. We don't know what's coming down the road.
Yeah, I think the enforcement part of it.
Yeah.
The paperwork's easy.
Yeah.
And the fee is
The
almost
fees,
nothing.
the fee's $120 a year.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's the
that's
enforcement.
nothing compared to the overall look at it.
Yeah.
Really, what we're trying to do is get everybody in compliance now, and then as the issue comes up, when it starts to change, they'll have to give us, you know, most of the time it's 6 months' notice. And then that's when we'll have to do it. And that's the reason why I brought it up to the board is like, look, this could be 6 months down the road, this could be a year, this could be 3 years. This is something that's on the horizon. This may change the way we totally operate, or everything may smooth right out and work just exactly like it is. We don't know because we don't know what all is going to be entailed at that time.
And I guess what I'm getting at, you know, this body really needs to make sure that we're doing all we can to protect our first responders. And I may get shunned for this comment, but it seems like the state and with the laws and the mandates and everything changing constantly, it's almost like it's to run the volunteers out. And maybe that's a statement I shouldn't make, but it's what it feels like sometimes. It's hard for us to try to keep up, but we're running a vast majority of the calls in this county, and we're doing a good job with it. But this stuff comes along, it's where we need a little help. So, I appreciate you putting in the work and getting this together for us. I think it's a good policy. Has everybody had time to review it?
Chief Key,
Yes, sir.
so each agency has to have their own licensing as it stands right now to maintain drug boxes, correct? Or each department has to?
For Schedule 6 drugs, we can all come under one license. Really, at anything other than that, once the drug boxes, whether they go away or whatnot, we have to get our own license. We can do the same setup now. We'll have to come up with a way of controlling it, a way of inventorying it, a way of managing it.
So, say one of the departments had an issue, would the whole county lose the license based on one situation?
I can't answer that. I don't know. I can't get any answers from the Board of Pharmacy on that.
I will say,
Chris, can you make sure they understand what Schedule 6?
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah,
Drugs
your
are-
normal saline, your bags of saline, it's nothing of the drugs or in the drug box stuff.
Narcan.
Yeah, it's the simple things, your flushes, your locks, and all that stuff. And that's all that's bringing us into compliance with, and that's all we have to do right now, because everything else is covered under the drug box agreement with Western Virginia and with the hospitals.
Yeah, everything Schedule 6 is IV maintenance, basically.
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
basic stuff,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, Mr. Shields, it may come a time, that's what they keep saying, is eventually it's going to come a time that the drug boxes are actually going to go away. Right now they're not, and we're going to have stock our own narcotics and stuff, which is then where you have a lot more oversight, and that's why I was kind of running with it, that we're going to need the county's help, and the solution is not to just drop our volunteer agencies down to BLS. But to add on just to a little bit extra protection and comfort for you guys that's voting on this and ultimately the board, part of this license is you also agree to have inspections done, and you have to meet a criteria list. It has to be behind a locked door, and it has to have this and that. And Director Key can tell you all that, but is that right, Mr. Key? That
Under the Schedule 6, it's just basic stuff. You just have to have a locked room.
Yep.
If we go and do away with the drug boxes and have to get them ourselves, then there's more stringent rules that go along with it, because then you're accountable for all your narcotics and everything.
But even with the Schedule 6, you have to send in a document telling them where we house it, and that that we basically submit to any time if they want to come in and inspect any agency that's on that license. They have the right to come in and say, I want to see your books, I want to see your building, where you're keeping these drugs, to make sure that we're following that. So
That's my question. Out of all your departments, they come in and they have an issue with one. Does their whole license get suspended based on one organization? Whereas, as currently, each fire department or each rescue squad has their own licensing, correct?
Well, actually, nobody has any of this because we've never had this.
Okay.
EMS has never been included with the Board of Pharmacy rules and regs.
Okay.
So this is something new that has come out. Every agency has their own EMS license through the state of Virginia,
Right,
but that's separate from what this is.
okay.
We had the Office of EMS come in and talk at the association level, and at that time, what's it been, 2 months now, Alan?
Yeah.
At that time, 91% of the counties in the state of Virginia wasn't in compliance. So for the folks at home, it's not a bunch of pushovers in the county operating. We're in the same boat everybody else is. This has started to be put into compliance, and folks come under compliance here recently.
I'm just trying to figure out which
It's-
the best
it's
way to
new.
go.
It's new. And at the end of the day, that guy from Office of EMS recommended just what Chris Key's recommending. He recommended we go under an umbrella policy for the county and everybody be an addendum.
And the Fire and Rescue Association, have y'all discussed this?
Yes, and we agree with it,
Okay.
Y'all made a motion and a recommendation last month,
to send it to this body.
and that was to go under the umbrella policy, correct?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's a lot to it, but I mean, I think it would be better facilitated and managed all under one license.
I guess my question to Chris Key is, you were asking if we were going to want to be inspected or if we wanted to try to keep everything on the trucks. Does every agency need to be the same? I know that would make life a lot easier for you.
Oh, it would, obviously it would make life a whole lot easier if everybody did the same thing. What they had suggested was all the Schedule 6 drugs, you need to keep your spares on certified vehicles in your station. That way they're on board. Otherwise, you're opening yourself up to an inspection at any time. Part of the paperwork deal is when I submit this, within 14 days, they're going to send someone out to do inspections. So we already know public safety is going to have to be inspected. So we're going to have to update our system now because we can't keep all our stuff on the 3 ambulances we have.
Would it be acceptable to give us to the next association meeting to be able to talk to the agencies and see what they're going to be able to do?
Oh, yeah, I would definitely suggest that. I'm not pushed for time.
Okay.
We've been out of compliance since November, so what's another 30 days, right?
Not to our fault, I'll add, though, because
No,
it was
not
kind of
to
just
our
dumped
fault,
on us.
but,
Just
yeah.
dumped on us.
I mean, at the end of the day, I just think they need some input,
Yeah.
make sure they can put it on their apparatus.
Yeah, because I can list it under the addendum, like if Blair's agrees they want to have theirs in a locked storage area, then I just list it under that as, hey, y'all, you're open for inspection is the only problem.
Well, I guess right now we're all open for inspection at any time anyway.
Yes, sir.
And I would highly recommend that we all, I'm not going to speak for other agencies, but at Gretna, I'm going to recommend that we be just open up for the inspections. We have no problems letting them come in and look, because I don't know about y'all, but trying to get supplies right now, you might be waiting 6 weeks for a box of fluids. And if we run out of fluids, and the hospital ain't going to give you but so much, because
And
they got to have fluids.
that's our issue. I don't know if we can carry all of that we so to need before we can get more on the trucks.
And that was part of what we had discussed,
Right.
because, trying to hold all that equipment on a ambulance is going to be tough to do it. You may be able to get 3 cases this month, and you can't store all of it on your ambulances, so. I think it would be wise for every agency to open themselves up for the inspection, but this will all be coordinated because it's got to be done within a 2-week period.
Okay.
So once you make a decision, it's got to be done.
Yeah, well, once I
Basically.
submit the
Yeah,
paperwork,
once you submit
everybody's
the-
got to be ready
Yeah,
for that
once you
inspection.
submit the paperwork, we all should have already been prepared for
Yes,
it.
yes, sir.
But as far as for this document, if we accept, or there's no motion on this anyway.
No, this
so-
is just for informational purposes, yes, sir.
Information, okay. Because this, that'll give you time, Chief Fowler, to go back to the association and y'all discuss this more in length to find out, kind of do a poll of what all the agencies are gonna do, and then you can submit the paperwork. And that
That's
way,
right.
like you said, when they come looking, nobody's caught off guard.
Yeah.
I'll get with Chris between now and the meeting and try to put together a page for each person so they know what the requirements are, what type cabinet they'll accept, and all the security that goes along with it, and make sure everybody is ready to do it if they decide they're going to go that route.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this? If not, we're gonna move down to the added items, which will be under new business 13D. There's going to be a discussion on solar farm fires. There's nothing in your packet about that tonight because I didn't have time to get it on the agenda. This was something that was discussed at the association meeting the other night. I tried to call today. I actually spoke to Mr. Slimp earlier and get some more information, but I wasn't able to yet. I think this body needs to look at and maybe make some sort of recommendation to the Board of Supervisors when we approve these permits to build these solar farms, and we've got, I think it's 9, don't quote me on that, I think it's 9 in the county now, built or getting ready to be operational. It may be more, but it's several thousands of acres of solar farms that's up and running now. With that being said, we've already had a fire in Gretna at one of those solar farms. The guys there were great. They were helpful, the whole 9 yards. But what concerns me is in those permits to build the solar farms, it says that they will offer fire training to our agencies, to our volunteer agencies, because they're the ones that go and do the firefighting. And the other night, the question was asked at the association. I think it was 14 agencies or something like that there. Anyway, basically 2/3 of our agencies. Had anybody been trained on solar farm firefighting from any company that has a solar farm operating in this county? And the answer was no. So, my question is who's enforcing that? And not that I'm trying to cause any issues with anybody, but we need that training to be available because, if Chief Fowler's there or, Mr. King's there, these people that's been doing firefighting for a long time, Mike Neal's there, I know they're going to make the right decisions, but if we have some younger guys and, we have a volunteer service, sometimes come rolling up and, they might be a great fireman, just don't know what they're looking at and go to putting water on something that's got 36,000 volts on one box and it's 16 boxes on that farm, because that's what I was dealing with at the last fire, then we just killed somebody. So, I think that it would be appropriate, at least a discussion here, and like I said, maybe a motion that our board direct whoever's over that to make sure that they reach out to these people and say, hey, glad you came to our county, whatever, but please make sure that you're reaching out and getting with these volunteer agencies and training them on how to properly fight these fires. And to add to that, the roads are supposed to be maintained and the vegetation is supposed to be kept to a certain control. I can tell you the last fire we went to down in there, thank God nobody was hurt. We spent 3 hours washing the trucks, getting the mud off of them after, because there wasn't no gravel on the road, and the vegetation was taller than my head. So, just from the standing. So, that's where I'm coming at. It's up to you guys. If we want to move on with it, I'm fine. If we want to kick it back to the association, I'm fine. But I think that's something that's near and dear to me, that needs to be discussed.
I think the other concern at the association the other night was these folks are here working now. When y'all had the fire, they were here working. When these things are operational, I don't think it's going to be anybody 15 to 20 minutes away to come and control these things.
And the Department of Forestry was there the other night, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the director over this county now stated that you do not realize how many fires are in solar farms. I mean, these things are nothing but a heat magnet. That's all they are. And you have fires in them. And, under the grand scheme of things, if it's in the solar farm, we're going to have to let it burn until they get the power off. We're just making sure it don't get out. But, that being said, I would hope they want their property taken care of as well, that they've got these multi-million-dollar investments in. So offer us the training. Who do we call? How do we contact? Like Dean said, we were lucky. There was people still there working. They were basically done, but working. And it took 15 minutes. They said, hey, y'all stay back. We got to go 2 roads over to cut the power off. Then they had to send another crew over there to check it with a hot stick before we could even get close to it to fight the fire. So, that's our concerns.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I remember in the agreements some of those specifics. What I'd recommend is let me talk to Vaden Hunt, the county attorney, and Emily Ragsdale, who works closely with the companies, and get you an answer and bring it back to you next month. That'd be okay.
That would be great.
Yes, sir.
And like I said, we just want some clarity, some training.
Been out to Climax lately? They might as well rename Climax to Solar Town. I
Yeah.
mean, it's unreal how big that solar facility is, but it dawned on me, one of the things we need to add to those agreements is the gates need to be marked in 911 address, because some of them have multiple gates.
Yeah.
So you get a call on a solar farm, but you wouldn't know what gate to go to. So, and then we also need access. So we need to develop a way that there's a common access, at least for fire and EMS, and I have some ideas we can do that.
Or
But-
denied access.
But we definitely
I'll
need,
vote for that.
there needs to be marking of those gates.
Okay.
Yeah, because some of these are really large facilities. and
Right.
It would be very difficult. I've noticed that in a couple of them lately.
Yeah, I know the one in Grutland's not as big as the one in Climax, and it had 16 of those boxes, and the man told me, he
Yeah.
said, don't get anywhere near this thing when it's
Exactly.
burning, or it can kill you.
Yeah,
So,
thank you, thank you.
thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chairman Ingram. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, on the flip side of that, are these facilities subject to future inspections by anybody? You know, you talk about the grass being tall and the road not being maintained. Is that something that should be, in my mind, it's like a, fire department inspection, come through and,
I think that would be great if we could, when they're talking to them, Mr. Ingram, if they would allow us to come in once a year or whatever, at least just to look around and give them at least, some ideas or pointers, or kind of like the insurance company just done with us, just saying, hey, it would be great if we kept this mode and kept this road accessible just in case.
well, it adds to, y'all's duties also, to have to do that, but,
Right.
I mean, at some point, if you're growing this in the county, and it should be treated just like any other business. I know all the businesses that I've ever been associated with has a fire inspection.
Right.
This should be no different, so it's something maybe, going forward, you put some of that in the verbiage in the contracts, that they're subject to inspections and got to be open for inspections and got to be available for inspections, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, and I think that would fall really good under pre-planning as well. A lot of departments have these agencies, these businesses popping up, these solar farms, pre-plan that farm. But, like I said, that being said, we got to know how to get access to it and when we can come do that, and have someone there to at least walk us around and explain to us, because we don't know, I'm illiterate to it.
Yeah.
But, and Director Key, do they have any kind of inspections from your department? I know you have fire marshals that do inspections, but is there anything associated?
Nothing's associated with inspection of solar farms.
Okay. Is that something that once we talk to them, maybe they could come out and give us just a tag along if we're not busy and give us a hand? And I'm sure they could see some things maybe we didn't catch or whatever,
Well, I'm sure we can put it on their agenda to get that done, but
making them more work.
yeah.
But, okay.
I think most of that currently lies with community development and the building inspectors, but yeah, I was surprised to hear that the training that was offered had not been
And
fulfilled.
that's, again, Chief Fowler, when we asked the question the other night, is that correct? Nobody had any
That's
formal
correct.
training.
Nobody had any.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, the next item's going to be under 13E. It's going to be a discussion on mutual aid agreements. Just wanted to bring this up real quick tonight. I know Director Key has been working hard on trying to get us some mutual aid agreements, and he hasn't been so successful yet. I know the city of Danville has signed an agreement with us. We appreciate that. And I'm just thinking, does this body need to put together some sort of motion to send a letter, or even send it to the board and have them send a letter to the adjoining counties asking for a mutual aid agreement? I'll give you an example. Down at the Stand River line, Medic One, that's their territory. Sometimes they have to go into Alta Vista. I know my agency alone, when Medic One's tied up, has been into Alta Vista twice this year. That's a haul to go into Alta Vista, but sometimes it doesn't seem like that's being reciprocated. We don't get the return service from, if we're in a bind, we don't get the help from Campbell County. So, if we had an agreement in place, I think that would improve things, and there's several counties that border us. So, Chris, you can add to it anytime you'd like.
Yeah, we've already sent mutual aid agreements from county to county with Henry County, Franklin County, and Halifax County. We're just waiting on the paperwork to come back with all the signatures and everything. Obviously, each side wanted to look at, the attorneys wanted to review it to make sure they was in compliance. I've got nothing back on any one of those three. Obviously, the one with Danville has been completed and done. I'm getting in contact with somebody from Campbell County to get that one done, and we're still writing the ones for Rockingham and Caswell County. So we want, like Ringgold to be able to go across the line, and also for them to be able to come back across the line. Same way with River Bend and with Cascade. So we're working county to county to get this done. So just waiting on responses back on most of them.
So do you think, would it help at all? Or we can just hold off and let us see how it plays out, or would it do any kind of benefit for us to ask the board to draft a letter, Vaden Hunt to draft a letter to go along with that?
I don't see it. I talked to Jason Johnson in Halifax today about it, and he said his attorney has it. He was just waiting on it. What he wanted to do was the same thing with us.
Okay.
Because I did it on our behalf, and he wanted to do it on Halifax's behalf.
Right.
So basically, they was going to try to use the same verbiage and just reciprocate with it. So I should hear something back from them. I'll check with the other two counties to see where they're at.
Okay.
And then get with Campbell County to try to get everything arranged there. So.
I don't know, do you have one with Bedford as well? Because I know my first due runs all the way to the line up there at the Tolles Bridge for Bedford.
I hadn't addressed Bedford yet. So
Okay, if you
I'll
would, reach out to
hang
them
that one.
too. And will the county's attorney, I'm sure he will review whatever agreement they send over, correct? Okay. Is there any questions, comments on that?
So, Director Key, you have already opened the lines of communication and sent these letters out. You're just waiting
Yes,
on
sir.
a response.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, we completed Danville. Danville's was quick, with Chief Coffey in. We did that one pretty quick. It's been over, right at 2 months ago, I sent Henry, Franklin, and Halifax all the same day. I had theirs completed. I did not have Rockingham and Caswell's because I wanted to make sure, laws and everything were correct on each side. So those two are still being worked on.
Probably
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, go ahead.
Is there anything in that letter dealing with reimbursement, cost expenditure? Because you know it's going to come up.
I think, I don't think it was anything dealing specifically with costs. It was whatever was encumbered by each side would be handled by that side.
You know it's going to come up?
Yeah.
And just to add to that, I know he's probably hit it with that, these mutual aid agreements are only when the counties their system gets taxed and they're in a tight situation. Like when they called us the other day, the Medic One was on a call, Campbell County called, all their trucks was out on calls, wherein line's that line of we go. This is what we're supposed to do, we go. We just need something to have a document saying that we're both going to scratch each other's back at the end of the day. So I think it's not going to be like a normal, typical basis unless, it's already something pre-set up. Like I know Cool Branch has some first due into Franklin and all that's been discussed in the past, so.
Ben,
Yes, sir.
I know what we're primarily discussing here affects EMS because that's usually what the call is. But what about on the fire side? I know I'm going to use my residence for an example. I live in the far northeast corner of the county. Now, my driveway is 7 miles from my first D fire department in Pennsylvania County, Station 26. The second closest fire department to my residence is North Halifax in Halifax County. The third closest fire department to my residence is Gladys Fire Department in Campbell County. With this mutual aid agreement, Chris, would this also include putting those agencies in the chain of dispatch as far as second due, third due, and so forth?
No, sir. It's just covering mutual aid.
Okay.
But could you, under these agreements, to go with that, could you request them and the dispatchers dispatch them? Would any of that be covered under the agreement? Because another prime example You know, we just had that fire up in Grit Road the other day, where the 2 firemen got hurt, I said the other day, a month or so ago. And Alta Vista Fire Department was the next closest fire department to that, you know, and I see what you're saying. I mean, if you're here in Chatham in the middle of the heart of the county, it's not a big deal, but for some of these guys that are out there on the outskirts and the edges, I know Cascade runs a lot of mutual aid with across county and state lines, and so is that something, if we request it, is that you think that would be covered, or how does that work?
Mr. Slimp, you correct me if I'm wrong, but the state mutual aid agreement, the fire chief can request that, or his designee.
Yeah, it's gonna be included in it.
But I think if you, Chief Fowler, it's a department-to-department request, right?
That's correct. The chief or his designee can request an agency from outside of that county or
Yeah,
jurisdiction.
because, I mean, I use us for example, we run a lot with Henry County, with Dial Store. You know, when we up there on the line, we just as close to them as anybody. And we kinda got it ingrained in us that if you go that way, tell the dispatcher hit Dial Store. And when they come our way, they do the same thing. And I'm gonna use the church for an example, but the county line, it depends on whose cell service you use as to where you going, which agency you're gonna get first.
Right. Yeah, because you might hit another tower and go.
Yeah, hit another tower and go to Henry County, or you hit this tower and go to Pennsylvania County. But I think, like you said, that's a chief-to-chief call.
Does that work the same as far as county to state? Where we at down at Castle County, is it still a chief thing or what?
Right now, we've already got some agencies that have got agency to agency with Carolina departments to come into Pennsylvania County first along.
Yeah, we're just trying to cover all sides of it for fire EMS for county to county. So that way it takes Ringgold out of having to go specifically to each department. If we go county to county, that should cover any agency that comes in or either has to go out of the county.
Yeah, and I would just suggest, I mean, it sounds like you're doing it, like I said, throw in Bedford. I would just suggest that any county that borders our county, they get sent that agreement. I mean, because my first due runs up to Toller's Bridge, and it could be a fire in a subdivision across the bridge. I mean, you know, and so just making sure that that's, you know, covered both ways. But I just wanted to bring that up to the discussion. You know, I think there's been some gray area there, and, you know, I want to make sure we're all playing ball together and scratching each other's back, like I said. So is there any other discussion on that matter? If not, we will move to other matters from commission members. So we will start with Director Key. Got anything?
I just want to thank everybody for their continued support, with everything helping, Chris Limp helping me out, moving into the new interim position here. It's been a whole lot of learning, and thank you for everybody for bearing with me. I've been a little slow on getting a few things out, but I'm learning it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Brown?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Casper?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Mr. Sellers?
I do appreciate Chris Schlemp coming and helping us in our transition between the two of y'all. He's been a big help to us, and thank you a lot for that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Holly?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. All right, so Chief Fowler.
I may be speaking out of turn, but y'all keep one of the agencies in the county in your thoughts and prayers, and one of their members who was hurt on a response. Just keep, I won't call his name, but just keep that individual in your thoughts and prayers.
Thank you. Mr. Rowe?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Mr. Gazelle?
I don't have anything.
Chairman Ingram?
Good, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Let's see, got to move on. Mr. Shields? Oh, sorry, I skipped.
I'm good, thank you.
Yes,
Nothing
sir.
at this time.
I'm still trying to learn the names. I can't see the nameplates that good. Mr. Stallings. All right, Mr. Shields. Yes, sir.
I don't have anything, thank you.
All right. Mr. Mayhew. Vice Chair.
Thank you guys for coming out, and thank you for what you do. Director Key, Mr. Slimp, thank you. We all a work in progress. But thank you guys for what you do.
Yes, sir. Again, I apologize, Steve. Sorry about that. So just to what these guys said, thank you to everybody that come out tonight, all the chiefs, members out there, Chris, insurance, appreciate y'all coming out and keeping us covered, making sure we're doing what we're supposed to. Thank you to the director. He come down to my station last night, sat for till 7:30 at night, and, fit testing our guys. I think we had 26 fit tested, so, we appreciate you doing that. And he's trying to take that extra step, and, I want to remind people they have that. He puts it out in the newsletter, but, everybody, that's a benefit, use that. We need to be fit testing our guys. It's a safety issue, making sure they're wearing the right mask. He can bring the equipment down. You just set up a date and time, test everybody. So that we appreciate that. I want to just remind everybody, I said this last month, please, please, please attend the association meetings if you can. It's important. Those guys are bringing up a lot of information that feeds through this body, that feeds through the Board of Supervisors, and ends up directly affecting us on day-to-day operations. So the more we can get people together and to meet and support each other, the more we can accomplish. And same thing, come attend these meetings. If you got something you need to say, come up and say it. Let us know so we can be putting it on our radar. And the same thing with the Board of Supervisors meetings. Please go to them, attend them. If you got something you want to say, please sign up, talk to those guys, reach out to your representatives. I appreciate our county staff, and I really appreciate our volunteers. They don't get told enough, thank you, but we do appreciate them. And I think that we are better than we was a couple years ago, but we got a long ways to go. So we all just need to continue to work together and keep building this thing. But I appreciate this body, and that's all I got. So,
Mr. Chairman, I have one thing.
yes, sir.
One thing that I skipped, and I really want to make sure everybody understands. We had an agency that was recognized as the outstanding EMS agency through Western Virginia EMS Council, and that was Cascade Fire and Rescue for the efforts they've done. So I want to make sure everybody here understands that's an exceptional award for one of our local agencies, and that award will now go to the state level, so they could possibly be in line for another award through the state.
That's awesome. Chief, would you stand up, please?
Chief Hunt.
Chief Hunt. Let's give those guys a round of applause. That's a big deal, because you guys just went transport how many years ago? 2 years ago, and they won a award for the region, and now they entered to win an award for the state. And that's a testament to the volunteers that we have in this county and the people that we have willing to serve, doing it for a little or nothing. So we appreciate you guys. All right, anything else? Motion to adjourn. Have a good night.